Okay. All right, luscious, mighty companions, let's get ready to get into this Way of Mastery class. If you're here for the first time, basically, you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it, and if you try it, you'll see that it works. This is a class for me that I really love because we get a chance to deal with some deep, heavy spiritual, metaphysical concepts. So the first thing I'd like to invite you to do tonight, and every time we do a Way of Mastery class, as much as you possibly can, try to let go of the normal way that you tend to look at reality. I think what really interferes with really getting the juice out of stuff like this is that we try to, sometimes we're tempted to try to fit our worldview into what this is saying. But really the whole point of it is to say something to us totally, completely different than what we normally hear and what we normally listen to, so that maybe we can actually end up getting what we want.
All right.
You know, that's a radical concept, but that's the purpose of it. So I'd like to invite you to, just for a minute, we're just gonna give ourselves a moment to get silent and kind of let go of the day and let go of everything that you were doing before you came in here. So let's just take a minute to just breathe and focus in on a minute on what, and ask yourself as we go through this, why am I here? Why did I come tonight? What was my purpose for coming tonight? And just really take a minute to ask yourself that. What was my purpose for coming tonight? Why did I bother to show up? What is it that I'm hoping to gain? And then try to remind yourself that you are entitled to peace. You are entitled to love. You are entitled to happiness. You are entitled to joy. You are entitled to abundance. So just take a minute, go within. Sometimes it's actually possible for us just to allow ourselves to be still for a moment. And remind yourself that you're never upset for the reason you think. You're never upset for the reason you think. You're never upset for the reason you think. You're never afraid for the reason you think. You're never experiencing any kind of lack for the reason you think. You're never in relationships that don't bring you into peace for the reason you think. You're not in a job that you may not like for the reason you think. You may not be sick for the reason you think. And it's also true at the other end of the scale. You're never happy for the reason you think. You're never feeling good for the reason you think. Okay, we're going to be on page 244 if you got the book. We're going to continue the Way of Transformation. And we're going to do the same way that we've been doing on Tuesday nights, which is I'll cover about 10 minutes worth of material, then we'll throw it open for discussion and questions for about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll go through some more of the material until the time is up. I'm trying to go slow enough to allow us to kind of digest what it is that we're being told in each particular paragraph. And we're going to look for what is the main point that Spirit is trying to give us in the particular paragraph that we're looking at. We're going to continue with the paragraph that says, the fourth paragraph, which says, so again in this lesson we speak on the theme of desire. We seek to bring you to the point of realizing that desire is the great power of creativity. It is that which births your every experience. Desire is perfectly free. That desire, that power to desire is within you, and you will never be without the power to desire. It's impossible to be desireless, since you can only find yourself to be where you have desired to be. So wherever you are according to this, wherever you are in your experience, wherever you are in your life is actually where you desire to be. Even if you are in deep and perfect silent meditation, you are there because you desire to be. Therefore, beloved friends, please decide this day to take responsibility for what you desire. So our instruction is to take responsibility for what you desire, recognize that what you desire will be, didn't say might be, It says what you desire will be what you experience. What you desire will be what you experience. So either that's not true, that our desires create our experience, if you think you are experiencing something that you are not desiring, or you have desires you don't know you have. So if it's true that what we experience is what we desire, and you think you are having something happen to you that you don't desire, if this is true, it means you have unconscious, subconscious desires that you have that you're not aware of. So in each moment of desire, he says, recognize that what you desire will be what you experience, but recognize what you desire literally creates the pathway whereby you experience either heaven or hell, which is peace or turbulence, which is love or fear. That sentence is really powerful too. Recognize that what you desire creates the pathway whereby you experience it. So your desire actually creates the way for you to experience the desire. What we do is tend to have a desire, not make the desire really strong, and then spend a lot of time trying to figure out how we're going to get the thing that we desire. What we're being told is that your desire literally creates the situation and circumstances that allow you to have what you want, which I think is a cooler way to do it. The only problem with that, or the challenge with that, is you kind of can't be kidding around about what you really desire. And it has to actually be something that you're really fired up about, and you're really inspired by, and you're real turned on. So lukewarm desires produce a lukewarm experience. A passionate desire actually creates the way for you to have the experience that you want. It's amazing to me how many people will get into metaphysics, and the first thing they might say is, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket. Now, a lot of times they say, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket, and then maybe I'm going to create it through that. But that'll be the same person, in many cases, that sees themselves as not having very much money. So it's kind of paradoxical to think that if you haven't been able to manifest enough money to feel comfortable in your day-to-day experience, that all of a sudden you're going to have the consciousness that's going to create $400 million. Does that make any sense to everybody? But you see that all the time. It's like the person that's afraid to go out on a date would be the same person that's telling you that they're going to have the person of their dreams that fit their every desire on every level. But they don't see how complete, or the person that says they want to have an exciting life is the person that's very much reserved and has no passion about their experience. And yet they're kind of like shocked that they're not getting what it is that they desire. But the truth is, they are getting what they desire. If you have a mediocre energy, then you shouldn't be surprised if you have a mediocre life. Doesn't it make sense? If you're afraid to connect with people, why are you shocked that you don't have a really active friendship network and a social life? That's actually proving exactly what we're being told, that your desire is going to create your experience. And so it says that in each moment of desire, right where you are, you have just birthed an entire world. Far out of that desire, you will create your perceptions of everything from yourself to the farthest stars, all in a split second, a moment of timelessness. So part of the journey then, the way of transformation is learning to transform your lived experience. So if I'm going to be in the path of, this is called the way of transformation. This is a way of mastery. This is a section called the way of transformation. So we're being told that if I'm going to transform, then I have to transform the experience that I'm living. So transforming the experience that I'm living is the way of transformation. So you have to learn to transform your lived experience so that you can enjoy your lived experience more and more. And so as you wake up to your spiritual identity and you get in touch with your power, we're being told that you begin to have more and more joy, but you are attached to it less and less. And then finally, you're not afraid of your lived experience at all. So I'm going to give myself an experience, but I'm attached to the outcome less and less until I get to the point that I don't have any fear at all. Because all fear comes from your fear of losing. He says all fear comes from the fear of loss. So if I'm not attached to the outcome, there's nothing for me to be afraid of losing. But if I'm attached to the person, place, thing, or outcome, then I'll constantly have the fear of I could lose this. Does that make sense to everybody? If I'm attached, then I'm going to be afraid. If I'm enjoying it, but I'm not attached, then I won't have so much fear. Okay, any questions or comments about anything that I've said so far?
When we like started,
Mhm.
thought about like why we're all here, that's like what I was thinking.
Mhm.
That I feel like I'm too attached to certain things. It gives me anxiety.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're being told, is that our attachment is what's creating the fear that we're going through. But we think our attachment is being caused by the situation or circumstance that we're going through. And our fear is coming from, the stress is coming from our attachment to the situation or circumstance we're going through. So that's where the fear comes. So if you're waking up, then you are really being passionate about your desires. That's what I see. When I go through this stuff, this is the way I do it. What did I hear him say? What did I hear it say? That's the question you should ask yourself. What did I hear it say? Not how can I analyze what it said, but how can I remember what it said? Okay, first thing I remember that I was told is that my desire is going to literally create whatever it is that I want to experience. That if I have a really passionate desire for it, then somehow or another I'm going to create some form of that in my experience. Okay, that's good for me to know. Also, I heard that I want to transform the way that I live. I want to transform the way that I see my experience. And if I truly start to transform it, which means simply I truly start to look at my life differently. That's all transforming ultimately means. I'm willing to look at my life differently. I'm willing to look at my relationship differently. Then he said at that point you'll start to enjoy your life more and more, but at the same time you'll be attached to the outcome less and less until you don't have any fear at all. Because if you knew you could create whatever it was you wanted through your desire, why would you be trying to cling to anything when you knew that you could just let yourself continue to have whatever experiences you want to have? So the more I know that I can create my reality, then the less I'm going to hold on to anything. If a relationship ends, I'll be willing to let the relationship go because I know I can create another one in my life. If a job ends and I think I need another job, then I know that I can create another one in my life. Whatever it is, if you realize you're the creator, you're not attached to anything because you know that it's just a matter of your desire. So then what you start focusing in on is the question, what do I desire? What do I really want? What's really important to me? What do I really value? Yes.
If your desire is subconscious, though, so
Mhm.
you're not really like, you know, you're saying you might be manifesting something from a subconscious desire.
Mm-hmm.
Then how do you change something that's subconscious?
By the same way you affected in the beginning, by repetition. What you do is you tell yourself, you start having another conversation in your mind different from the one that you normally have, and you start to remind yourself of the truth over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Like for instance, when I said, notice that when I said, I want y'all to check out our response when I said, you can desire something and the desire will create whatever it is you want. Did you notice that there wasn't exactly any kind of ecstatic joy that came out of the group when I said that? Just think about that. Think about how laid back we all were when we heard our desire could create what it is we want. But don't you have desires that you think, things you think you'd like to have changed?
Yeah.
Okay, and we just heard it's desire that gets us to create it, right? And again, it's not a criticism. What I want us to do is to see why we are experiencing what we are experiencing. That it's not an accident if your life isn't exciting. It's not an accident if you're not thrilled about what's happening. It's a direct reflection of your own energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think some of it comes from, in my case, that my desire for joy, abundance, and peace isn't deep enough, and I'm struggling to get it deep enough. And I know practice and reading and so on will take me there.
Mm-hmm. You know what came to my mind when you were saying that?
What?
Whenever I hear somebody say, rightfully so, that my desire isn't deep enough, what that means to me is that you're not asking for what you really want.
Mm.
There's no such thing as your desire not being deep enough for something you really want.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, because you've all had experiences where you were so excited about something that you could barely contain yourself. I bet you every one of you have. I bet you every one of you have had experiences where all of a sudden, I don't care how broke you were or what was going on in your physical experience, something came up that you wanted to do, and you moved heaven and hell to make that thing happen. Whether you had the money to pay for it or anything else, you wouldn't let it stop you. Why? Because you wanted it so much that your desire prepared you beyond any fears or any obstacles you had about receiving it. So that's why at the very beginning, through me, Spirit was inviting everybody to ask yourself what you really want. Because whatever it is that you have no passion about is not what you really want. It might be what you think you ought to want. It may be what the world says you should want. But it's not really what you really, really want. If I walked in here and I said, guess what, gang? I came into a lot of money today, and I'm going to give each one of you $1,000 check. I bet you anything we wouldn't have been as quiet as we were at the very beginning. I bet you if I walked around and gave everybody $1,000, you wouldn't be like that. Why? Because that would probably, unless you're going to pretend that you're beyond money, that probably would enthuse you in some way. If it was nothing else, the way you could play with it. Why? Because that would have been something that would have triggered your desires. Even if it was just, now I got this money, there's a desire that I have that I could go out and do tonight. So the key, all I'm saying is all it's saying is, if you have no true desire, if you have no passion, it doesn't create what you want in your experience. So your first responsibility is to get clear within yourself what it is that really turns you on. And that's not necessarily something that you have to say right here, right now, tonight. But it would be a really cool thing to do when you get some time alone. Mm-hmm.
What if I'm questioning my desires? I won't allow myself to desire, because right now everything's like, where are you going with this? Is your ego in charge? Is what? So there's a lot of self-inquiry, a self-doubt, a mistrust. I don't want to desire something. I don't want the ego. I don't want my ego to be running my life in the way that it has in the past.
I understand your purpose is that you want to make sure you're desiring the right thing. And you want to make sure, and so that's another trick of your ego.
I'm sure it is.
Right. That. How do you know it's your ego? Because it doesn't make you feel peace. Like the constant inquiry to the point that it makes you feel immobilized doesn't make you feel peace. So you know it's your ego that's in charge of it. And here's the trip for you.
Okay.
So what? So you make a mistake. So friggin' what? So you went after something that it didn't turn out perfect. Big deal. It's like we're supposed to be exploring our life with wonder and curiosity. We're not supposed to be approaching our life like we've got to be 100% guaranteed that we're not going to make a mistake ever before we do anything, or you would never do anything. Mm-hmm. It's really being able to express yourself and then forgive yourself if it looks like it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. But ultimately, Spirit will use anything you do to bring you to the awareness of who you really are. So you really can't do anything that Spirit could not use to ultimately bring you to the happiness that you want to have. So I would invite you to treat your life more like an adventure, and not so much to treat your life like you're so afraid that you won't allow yourself to explore anything. Well, your life won't be very much fun.
That's true.
That's the difference between old folk and young folk usually. Is that the older you get, the more you've had opportunities to see what happens when you don't really know what the hell you're doing. And so then you get to a certain age and you don't want to do anything unless you feel like it's going to be absolutely certain. So you don't realize that you become immobilized and old and can't hardly move, not because of your age, but because of your beliefs, because of all of the past that you're holding on to, that you won't let go of because you're so afraid that you're going to make an error and that you're going to make a mistake, which means there's a line in the Course in Miracles that says, whenever you feel afraid, it means you're dependent on your own strength, separate from the Creator.
Oh.
So whenever you're afraid, that just means this is something else that you're getting ready to try to tackle alone. This is something else you're trying to get ready to do through your own wits, as opposed to asking the universe for guidance, or asking Spirit for guidance. You're getting ready to do it on your own again. So fear always means, I'm doing it on my own again. I think I'm by myself trying to get this done again. And that's why it doesn't work a lot of times. He says the reason why it doesn't work is because the spiritual path is not a path that strengthens autonomy. It's not a path that strengthens self-sufficiency. It's a path that strengthens joining, connecting, cooperating, and learning how to listen to something greater than your own ego. So the spiritual path isn't even set up for you to be something else you think you can do on your own. Because that means you're just like everybody else that never picked up a spiritual book. Because pretty much people who are not on any kind of a spiritual path, that's what they're doing. They're trying to do it on their own. So coming to a class so you can do it on your own better is not any different from the guy next door that's not picking up a book. The basic premise is still the same. I'm on my own. I got to figure it out on my own. I got to do it on my own. That's the ego perspective. The ego perspective is just me alone.
So what's the
No.
perspective of like I want to take responsibility for my life,
Mm-hmm. The perspective of I
not
want
make other people do that
right. The perspective of I want to take responsibility for my life
on
is,
my own, like
Yeah.
myself.
Now that's cool. Like being willing to take responsibility
Is there
for
like
the
a
way
line?
that you see things. Taking responsibility for whether or not you're willing to listen to spirit or you're willing to do it on your own. That's smart. That's the way you want to do. You know, you're always responsible for how you feel and how you see things and how you think about things. That's always your responsibility.
It's only your responsibility.
That's only your responsibility. Your only responsibility is to choose to listen to the truth in something that moves you in the direction of what you really want, or to continue to listen to what you told yourself in the past and just recreate your past experiences over and over again. What we are responsible for is choosing. We're the ones that choose. I'm responsible for what I think.
Mhm.
That's what it's saying. I'm responsible for how I think. I'm responsible for how I see things. This book is saying you're not alone. You actually didn't create yourself. There isn't such thing as God. It's not probably the perception that you learned as a child, but don't throw out the baby with the bathwater and think that it's because the religious beliefs that you learned as a child was something that you're trying to get away from, if that's indeed the case, that doesn't mean there isn't a higher intelligence operating behind everything and a higher love operating behind everything. Why don't we see it? Because of what we think. He says because of what you think, it blocks you out from hearing your guidance. It blocks you out from allowing yourself to have the support that spirit in the universe wants to give you. It's waiting to support you in what would really evolve you and bring you joy. But we're basically atheists. And he defines an atheist as a person who thinks they're alone. And he defines a martyr as a person that thinks love and God demands sacrifice.
Mm.
So basically he's saying that there are two types of people in the world. You know, people who think they're alone trying to do it, which is the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery definition of an atheist. Not a person who necessarily says, I don't believe in God. An atheist is a person who thinks they're on their own by themselves trying to do everything. And then he said a martyr is a person who thinks that happiness and everything that they want deserves suffering. So they think that they got to be punished or they got to suffer or they got to struggle in order to have the things that they want. He says that's the martyr. And so there's another way, which is grace, which is knowing that you were created by something that really absolutely friggin' loves your butt and really wants you to evolve and be joyful, but because of the programming that we've gotten from the world and unconscious guilt and fear and grievances, we don't hear that inner voice that's guiding us because we were not made to feel innocent. Many of us were told we were born in sin or born guilty or didn't have parents who reminded us of our power and our innocence. And don't you think for a second that those beliefs aren't operating in your subconscious mind? It's those beliefs that's creating the things you don't like about your life that you're projecting. And when I say you, I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about me. It's a generic you. It's that's where it's coming from. Nothing that's making you unhappy is coming from anything outside of your own consciousness. Your own, and so our temptation is to argue with that premise. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I buy that. Or you could simply say, if that is true indeed, what can I do to change my consciousness? What can I do to change the way I look at things? What can I do to change my beliefs? If things are coming from my beliefs, and beliefs come from repetition, then what am I telling myself all day? And what am I going to be making sure I tell myself all day? Does it take effort? Yes. Does it take attention? Yes. Does it take some consistency? Sorry. Yes. It ain't going to just happen. It's ain't going to just happen because we're cute. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sad my way into happiness. I'm not going to be so depressed that one day I turn into this really happy person. because the universe is taking mercy on me because I look so pathetic. You know, I think at some point somebody's gonna want me because I'm calling for love. You know, I'm looking for somebody to love me. You know what I'm saying? You know, well, you probably will attract somebody that's just as looking for it as you are, and they feel like they're not any more whole than you do. And if they do show up, then be grateful for that and go, both of us calling for love, how can we do it together? How can we recognize love together? How can we go toward the truth together? How can we learn how to forgive each other, support each other, and love each other? So good. If you feel sad and you would like to be loved, you can still attract somebody to you that'll want to be in a relationship with you. But unless you want to change your mind, it'd just be two sad people together. And you've seen that too. You go to the restaurant, you see them all the time. I call them the dining dead. They sit at the table and you've seen them, and they go. You don't see any conversation. There's no eye contact. But at least they're not suffering alone. And the Course says that people form relationships so that they won't suffer alone. You know, so don't do that. You know.
But you're never alone by the same rate that you do anything for yourself. You're not really doing it on your own.
You're never really doing anything
like
on
doing
your
it
own.
to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
because there's this person that I talked to about the Course, and I just kept saying I just want to learn how to, accomplish this so that I can have solidarity and do it on my own and not need help. I'm talking about projects I'm trying to accomplish, like art projects, installations. I'm trying to manifest the resources to put together to make these geometric shapes out of metal. And it's been really freaking difficult to put all the pieces together.
That's why though, because the reason why it's difficult to put the pieces together is the basic premise of the attempt is that I've got to put all the pieces together. It's okay. See, that's what's keeping the pieces from coming together, because the minute you go, I've got to put the pieces together, then you're taking the ego perspective again of I've got to do it myself.
It just seems like I invited tons of people to help me and I got no response. And
Right,
so
because
then I developed that
because they didn't want to do it.
feeling that I need to do it for myself.
They didn't want to do
Yeah.
it. It was your vision, it was your passion, but it wasn't necessarily their vision. and
But
their
don't let that
passion.
develop a complex, I have to do it by myself since nobody else wants to do it.
So if I'm going to do something, first of all, I ask myself, why am I doing it, and what's the purpose for me doing it? Then I ask Spirit if that's its will that I do that. And then I try to lose my attachment to the outcome, because the more I'm attached to the outcome, the less likely it's going to happen. Because my spiritual lesson is to know that my inner peace does not come from anything that I do in the outer world. So if I'm going to go out in the outer world, then it has to be more of me doing it out of a sense of adventure, a sense of curiosity, a sense of, wouldn't it be nice to see what it's like if I made geometric shapes?
Yeah,
You
well,
see what I'm saying?
I've made them, but I need nice tools to make them nice enough to actually install in the community and stuff, instead of just be these little rough draft.
Right. Again, I'll throw it out again. It's about you're getting clear about what's the purpose of it, why do you want it, and then letting go of your attachment to the outcome of the people that you want to ask, and including your higher self in the equation. Because what's being left out is the higher self, or God, if you will. It's not until a person really says, I'm asking for guidance, that they're getting out of an ego perspective. So you can tell whether or not you're still in your ego perspective by the language you use. If I'm talking to somebody and they never mentioned a higher power, then I know I'm talking to somebody that's going to struggle. I don't care what they're trying to do. I don't care how good they think their purpose is. I don't care how good it is they think they're serving others. If the perspective is, I'm going to figure this out through my own wits to get this done, you're still not using the perspective of an evolving mind. You're still using the perspective of the ego.
What if you're telling, okay, Thank you so much. That answered and helped me so much.
And guess what though? And you have to develop that relationship. You know, it's just
what
like
if you're like
you know,
mad at God? You know,
well, that's
like
what,
making it
that's
so
the core
hard.
thing. But that's the now. See
But
now
I'm blaming God.
now you just hit the core issue.
Mhm.
The core issue is we're all pissed off at God.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the core issue. Is we all
Oh,
at some
why are
level.
you?
In other words, the ticket to come into Earth, the ticket to come into the Earth plane is I have forgotten God. You don't land here unless you are in a separation mind. You don't land in a body unless somehow you want to be separate. How do we know we want to be separate? How can we be absolutely sure we want to be separate? We are. That's how we know we want to be separate. And then we pick out certain people within the separation that we look to meet our imagined needs, which is further separation. Because see, I'm separate, now I'm going to get you and separate with you. And then we're going to be separate, but we're going to be separate together. But we're still very separate.
I think it's cool when relationships like call each other or like show each other the ego and then help you like push each other out of it.
That's the purpose. That's the purpose of a relationship, is to help you get past your ego and to recognize who you really are. But to do that, you have to trust the person that you're with. And you have to believe that the person that you're with really wants your best interest as much as you want theirs. If not, every time they try to tell you about your freaking ego, you're going to get defensive and you're going to attack them and you're going to blame them. You know, it's like the person we want to say, look, I know, you know, like I was doing a session just the other day and the person was talking and I knew I was going to say to them something that they didn't want to hear. Because usually when your ego has you, the way that it has you is you don't know that it has you. And then the other person can listen to you and hear what you don't hear at all. So if you really trusted them, then at the very least what you would do would be to ingest what they say, consider what they say, and then see what is the jewel that you can get out of that rather than defending against it. Oh, that's not true about me. No, I'm not really that way. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, this is your partner. This is the person that's your friend. This is the person that loves you. They're not saying something to hurt you. They're outside of your ego. They can watch your patterns and you can watch theirs. If you trusted each other, you could save each other a whole lot of time. So a relationship can save you so much time, or it can delay you better than anything else you can ever come up with. You can be moving really fast, get with somebody, and then get slowed down because you're constantly dealing with processing one thing after another with each other because of misperceptions. Or you can join with somebody and they'll remind you that your desire creates your reality, and that you're innocent, and that you deserve this, and that when you're thinking that you don't deserve this, I'm going to remind you that you do deserve this. I see your gifts. I see your power. I see the beautiful person that you are. It's okay that you're feeling afraid right now. Go ahead and feel afraid right now. I'll hold space for you right now, and I'll love you even while you're afraid. That kind of person is good to be in a relationship with. A person is constantly reminding you of what you did wrong and not doing right, and what you're guilty about and what you did in the past and all of that. Then you are using them to slow you down. And the reason I say you are using them to slow you down is because you're the one that's choosing to be in a relationship with them. Because nobody has to be in a relationship with anybody. Every relationship is a choice, if you can handle it. Yeah, all of them, including children, including relatives, all of them are a choice. All of them are choices. So I'm very choosy about who I allow to be in my inner circle with me, because those people are going to either be reinforcing the truth or they're going to help me forget it. And if I don't love myself, I'm looking for the person that's going to help me forget it. If I love myself, I'm looking for the person that's going to help me remember, and I'm going to help them remember. Okay, so let's go forward. All right.
Before you do that, my comment goes back a few minutes to Dana's question and your answer. I kept thinking about that real basic difference between love, fear, love, fear, love, fear. And if the thought that you're having is not giving you peace, it's probably based on fear.
Yes. Your feelings are the best way to judge where your thoughts are coming from.
So if I don't know if what I want, I haven't deep enough passion. Here's how you get past that hump really quick. Okay, you ready? And I talked about this on Sunday. If you don't know the form of what you want, ask for the content of what you want. If you don't, when people say ask what when you tell people focus on what you really desire, they always think in terms of things and physical circumstances. Like me being able, like you say, I want the supplies and the tools to help me get blah blah blah.
You know, I need to know what's my career going to be. I need to know what kind of man or woman I desire. That's not the level that I'm talking about. It's really the level of desiring peace, desiring joy, desiring abundance, desiring freedom, desiring a relationship with love, desiring a relationship with the truth. If you have a passion for those things will create the physical form that's best for you to have them in. So then what would start showing up in your life would be the perfect forms that you would allow yourself to experience the joy within you with. So instead of focusing on exactly what my mate should look like, I would be focused on what kind of qualities that my mate would have that I desire. You know, I can reduce it to one word for me. Sanity.
Yes.
Sanity. That'll cover the rest of it. I don't want another crazy person who's selfish, who's manipulative, who's only thinking about their fantasies and want me to act them out, just trying to control me for their own insecurity, because that's what I've done in the past. So I'd be meeting my own past, and so I have to be willing to choose differently when it comes back around, because I've been that way. So it's gonna come up. They're gonna come right up in my face because I put it out there. It's gonna come up. And then I have to be aware enough to go, this is my past pattern showing up again. How do I know? Because I'm hot for them. Because I want them. I know this is my pattern. Why? Because I'm drawn to them. So now I have to really talk, and I have to really listen. And I have to really get clear about what I want this time, because I'm going to have a severe temptation to get right back into that again.
That's the desire I'm afraid of.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, how are you going to get past it if you don't have the opportunity for it to show up so that you can choose something different? In other words, don't be afraid of making a mistake. Stop wanting to know that it's going to be perfect before you make a move, or your life will be stagnant, dull, boring, and unhappy. A too safe existence kills your spirit. No sense of adventure kills your spirit. That's just operating out of the fear center, because you're not alone, and nothing you can do can really hurt who you really are anyway. You are completely unlimited beings. Sorry, you're gods in physical form. Sorry, you can play pitiful and afraid as long as you like. That's your play. That's your role in the play you've made up. But I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it with none of y'all. I think all of you all exactly where you want to be right now, experiencing exactly what you want to experience, and I am too. And I'm not going to see any of y'all as a victim to nothing you think you're going through. I'm not giving you no pity.
Thank you.
None. Zero. Zilch. I ain't asking for none, I ain't giving none, because it's not true about us. We are not victims of circumstance, and we're not victims of our parents, and we're not victims of our childhood, and we're not the victim of our bosses and our jobs. And that's what we got to do for each other.
And we're not the victim of our mistakes.
And
That's
we're
the
not
one I
the
needed.
and we're not the victim of our mistake. You know. Okay, so I'm gonna go on. There are many in your world who would perceive spirituality as a way to get out of the place in which they find themselves, right? A lot of people come to spiritual classes like this not because they're really trying to evolve spiritually, but because they're handing their light, gas, and water bill. Or they're bored with their physical life. Or I'm looking for that soulmate. Or I really need to get more money. That's why you always get tricked to get on the spiritual path. Most people that end up really committed to their spiritual practice, that is not how they got, that is not the reason why they showed up at first. They wanted a spiritual answer to material concerns. So that's what he's saying. Most people perceive spirituality as a way of getting out of the place in which they find themselves, not understanding that they can be nowhere saved than in their own mind. As long as there is a desire to get out of where you are, you will remain stuck within it. Now, I said it again. As long as there's a desire to get out of where you are, you will remain stuck in it. Because only love can heal. It's only love that frees us. So if I'm fighting something, I'm actually getting more attached to it. It's sort of like quicksand, how the more you move in quicksand, the faster you sink. And there are some ropes that the more you struggle, the tighter they get. That's exactly that's exactly our situation. The more I fight my life, the more that I deal with the restrictions and limitations. The more I go, give me another way to look at it. I want to learn what I can love in it. How can I bring love into it? Then I free myself from it. But the thing that you're fighting the most is the thing that's going to show up the most. And then it goes on to say, therefore the way of healing, which is the way of transformation, requires that you turn back to look at your creations. That means to look back into your own mind and to bring love to whatever is arising out of the desire to be the presence of Christ. The presence of Christ just simply means the presence of your true self. Your true self is love. So Christ is just another name for your true self, your real self, your divine self. So I'm upset with somebody. What I want to do is look back into my mind and see how can I bring love to whatever's arising. Substitute the word truth for love and it'll sound more doable because they're exactly the same thing. But for some reason when you say truth, it seems easier. To say that I'm ready to bring truth to this situation with my mother can sound sometimes easier than I'm getting ready to bring love to my mother if I think I got a big grievance. So what I want to do is bring the truth to this situation. And the truth to this situation is a gift that's shown up in my life to get me in touch with something within myself that I need to let go of so that I can experience my desires. And without this person bringing this situation to me that I am going through right now, I would stay stuck in it forever. So therefore, I am grateful for the people who irritate the hell out of me, because the people who irritate the hell out of me at my request are getting me in touch with what I need to let go inside of me that's keeping me from having that joy and peace and happiness that I want. So a conscious being starts to see the people that irritate them as the person that's freeing them. An unconscious person is wanting everybody to be nice all day long, even though they don't feel nice inside themselves yet. In other words, I want my world to be different from me. I'm not being completely loving, but I want everybody to be loving to me. There's a disparity between me and my reality. So everybody in your life that's irritating you in any way right now, the thing to be is grateful. Not necessarily I feel good about it, but I'm grateful that they're keeping me aware of some things I need to change my mind about so that I can finally be free of it and be happy. Try to stay awake, y'all. Try to stay awake. I know it's going to be difficult, but you took the time to put on your clothes and come over here. Try to stay awake. Yeah.
I have a situation with my landlord and he's bugging the shit out of me. And I'm trying to find a new place to live, but if I don't have that desire to leave that place, then I'm really gonna be stuck. I'm gonna be stuck there. That's what confuses me.
Well, again, I want to share with you. I'm gonna sound redundant. The landlord is not doing anything to upset you at all. What's upsetting you is the meaning that you're giving to the whole situation. That's really what's upsetting you. It's the way you're interpreting the whole situation. And the peace is not going to come until you tell yourself it's all about me. That the reason why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling is all about me. It's not about the landlord. It's not about the situation. It's not about the circumstances. It's about the way that I am looking at it within myself. That's the first step to getting out of the conflict. Because the trick is always to make us think the other person or the outside situation is what's making us mad. It's the truth is, if someone said, for every argument you have with your landlord, we're going to give you $9 million, you would be picking a fight with your landlord. You would be hoping your landlord gave you the worst day that you've ever experienced in your life. Why? Because you would give it a different meaning then. You would be seeing your landlord being upset as a benefit to you because you've been told every time your landlord is upset with you, you're going to get $1 million. All of a sudden, it wouldn't be such a big deal. So what does that prove? It never had anything to do with my landlord. It just had something to do with how I'm looking at it. And the cool thing about the way spirit operates is the minute you take responsibility for what you're feeling, that's when the whole universe rushes to your assistance to then correct your mind and therefore correct the situation. So if you want to get out of that situation, as much as you can say, I'm giving it the meaning that it has for me. I want another way of looking at it. I'm not upset for the reason I think. You don't even have to figure out the next stage after that. We're just being asked to get in the habit of claiming that it is our responsibility what we're feeling. It's not our responsibility to know everything that's going to happen in the future with your landlord. Your part is to go, I'm not the victim of my landlord. That's number one. And once you start to say that to yourself, then the synchronicities and spiritual help will start to show up in your experience, and you find yourself miraculously out of that situation. Believe me, I've been doing this 30 years. I've been working with a lot of people for a long time. And I've had a chance to see people get out of stuff, and then I've seen people stay stuck. The people who get out of it are always the ones who begin to joyously accept the idea that they're not victims and they create their reality. The ones who stay stuck are always the ones who start out with the word you, them, and they. But that's a process because we weren't taught that. So I understand that at first it's just a habit. So I'm going to go back to the original premise. I'm going to cover a little bit first straight and then throw it open. Because it is the kind of thing that will bring up a million questions when you really start to hear it. So I'm glad about that. Let me cover this next paragraph and then I'll throw it open again. He said, now does this mean that as long as the body lasts and you find yourself in the world of space and time and movement and all the rest, that you will not take the body from one location to another? Of course not. Does it mean that third dimensional relationships will not come and go? Of course not. It does mean that you become completely free of old perception that an attraction to a certain relationship is going to add something to you, or the avoidance of a certain relationship is going to keep you safe. Rather, you begin to be free to let the dance of the three-dimensional illusion simply have its day, but it no longer holds power over you. So I'm not getting into a relationship any longer because I think this person is going to add something to me, and I'm not going to avoid a relationship because I think I'm going to be safe if I don't get in one. I'm not going to avoid relationships because I think it's going to hurt me, but I'm also not going to get into one because I think it's going to add to who I am. What he says is you're just going to let the dance of being in this experience happen. So again, he's saying again, it should be fun. It should be an adventure. Oh, I think I'd like to see what happened to me and what I could learn and what I could experience in a relationship. Oh, I'm not going to avoid one because I'm afraid that this person might necessarily hurt me if it's really something that I find myself I'd like to try. So as you wake up, you do it more from a perspective of, this is a dance, and I'm going to see what the dance has to offer me. This is a dance. Your relationship is a dance. Your job is a dance. All of it is a dance. And some people say they can't dance. Right? I don't know how to dance. We're dancing all the time. Do you have a type that you're attracted to? Have you found there's a type that you tend to be attracted to? Why? Because they remind you of somebody from the past?
There's definitely patterns, and I'm looking at that a lot of them are insane, is what I'm asking. The whole desire thing you're talking about, asking for content and not so much. But even the content is either subconscious or something crazy or whatever, but I don't know. I'm looking into asking for something different.
There's nothing crazy about asking for love. There's nothing crazy about asking for peace. There's nothing crazy about asking for a connection and joining. There's nothing crazy about that. You know, and it's okay to ask for something different, but there are only two things to choose between: love or fear. That's it. Those are only two things. They just have different names, but that's the only two things we're asking for: is love or fear. Yeah, and also the Course teaches that to believe something doesn't mean is what you're saying credible. He says to believe something means I'm going to side with it. It's like when you're a kid and they say, whose side are you on? That's what this is saying. Don't spend all your time fighting the idea that you have the power of desire and that you could be helped and that the only thing that's causing your problem is you believing you're a victim. Side with the idea that you're a powerful, responsible, creative being that can have what you want through your desire. And then say, how can I side with that idea that I'm innocent and I deserve to be happy and I'm not alone? Rather than going to the part of your mind that immediately tries to find flaws and problems with the premise. You follow what I'm saying? It's like, even if I didn't know how to do that, I should side with the idea of my happiness. Rather than go, I don't see how that could really happen. It's like, not going to really happen if you want to fight it. But it is gonna happen if you wanna side with it. If you side with it, you don't even have to know exactly how it's gonna happen. As a matter of fact, you won't. Because there's nothing that's ever happened to any of us that's happened exactly the way we thought it was gonna happen. Not one thing. There's nothing that anybody can ever say that happened exactly down to the smallest detail the way they thought it was gonna happen. Even if they did end up getting what they want, it generally didn't happen. You know, I think about Oprah Winfrey as a good example. People don't know how she started her talk show. They don't realize, most people don't realize that what happened was she went to Chicago to be a news anchor, and they didn't think she was pretty enough. So they stuck her on a morning show that she didn't even want to do because she wanted to be a news anchor. Her friend Gail, when people go like, why is she so Gail crazy? Her friend knew about Oprah, her best friend Gail, is because during that time she was scared, and Gail was the one person that was telling her that she could do it, and that she was valuable, and that she was beautiful, and that she had something to offer. And so was Stedman, her boyfriend. You know. So my point is, she ended up being Oprah, but that isn't what she started out to try to be at all. So now, in the back end, she can sit down and she can say, this is the way you have success, and this is the way, but that's not, you know what I'm saying? We can do that. I can sit up here and do that. But in the end, how it happens is going to be something completely beyond what it is you're going to be able to control or even think of exactly the way that it's going to happen. And that's why the truth says, focus on the desire, focus on the goal, focus on what it is you really want. Because the how ain't your business. The how is not going to be something that you can predict. The best relationships I've ever had in my life have showed up unexpectedly in ways I never thought I would meet the person, and I wasn't expecting it at all. The ones that usually were the hardest for me was the one when I came to a room and I said, whoa, I want her. That was usually the disaster every time. But the one that I wasn't expecting, that I wasn't necessarily looking for, but I was kind of clear about what I wanted to experience, always have been the easier, because it's always easier to have a relationship with somebody that's already interested in you in the way you are to begin with, rather than trying to get somebody to like you. Seduction is what you do when you're asleep. It's what sleep people do, is they try to seduce people. Nobody that's conscious is trying to seduce anybody. Because they know anybody you got to seduce, you got to keep on seducing. You got to keep on working on that for the rest of the time that you're together. And I'm too lazy for that. I can't be with nobody, and every minute I'm trying to convince them to stay with me and like me and be okay with me and convince me that I'm okay. I would only do that if I hated myself. And when I did hate myself, I was doing that. You know, so how do you know you're a divine friendship? You go, you know what? We just kind of clicked. It wasn't any struggle at all. It was like we knew each other a million years as soon as we sat down and started talking to each other. And they just constantly telling me they're grateful for me. And they're smiling when they look at me. And they're looking at me like they're seeing the most beautiful thing they've ever seen in their life. I know how somebody that loves me should be looking at me, and I should be looking at them. So it helps me know who to pass over. Because if you ain't looking at me that way, I ain't interested. If I ain't looking at you that way, you shouldn't be interested in me. But if I got to convince you, you ain't the one. If I got to talk you into it, I should run. But that's not the way we play it. The ego says that's the main one to go after. It's the one that looks like they're rejecting me. I'm the one I'm going to change. I'm going to get them. I'll seduce them. There are basically two sexes in the world, so we got billions of people to choose from. Pretty much all of them got the same body parts. I never met a woman without a vagina, or without breasts or legs. Never. There was one time in New York, but that's another story. My point in saying that is, there is no point in going after the body parts. The body parts are there on everybody. Okay? And what you wanna go after is the mind that's directing the body parts. That's what's really gonna be different. For real. Is everybody with me on that? Yeah, we all got the same body part, so it's kind of crazy. Like, but as a man, I remember it so well when it was like, it's body part night. Going out to get some body parts tonight. I have my favorite body parts that I like to get tonight. And then I had like my favorite size body parts, my favorite color body parts, and then I forget that there was a man that was going to come with that body part. And then I was going to experience the effects of the thinking of that mind. I was going to get with somebody and whatever they're going. You know, if you were a drama person, you always caught up in that drama. So really, when you form a relationship, what you're saying is, I'm agreeing to experience the effects of the way this person thinks with them, is what the Course in Miracles says. And when they say that, I'm, whoo, that's deep. When you say you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, even a friendship, whatever, what you're saying is, I'm going to go through what you go through with you. I'm going to experience the way you think with you. So if you're always depressed, then I'm going to have to experience that with you. If you're always insecure, I'm going to have to experience that with you. And your body part will not be enough to make that okay after a while. The body part attraction is to get you in the lesson to begin with. The lesson that you could use to bring you enlightenment. You know, you don't trap a mouse without some cheese in the trap. You know, so we got to be attracted to each other's bodies, or what we have, or the status, or whatever it is our ego is attracted to. But does this person love me? And sometimes in counseling, I sit at the people, I've heard you say everything but you love them. I've heard you say everything but you love this person. You're trying to work on it, you're trying to make it work, you're trying to get along, you're trying to get past the blocks y'all got. I haven't heard you say, I'm in love with this person. And without that, why bother? Well, because if I don't learn it with them, I'm going to have to learn it with somebody. So I just as well stay with this person till I learn my lesson. The stupidest thing I ever hear people say. Why would you want to be with anybody that you don't love? I don't care what you tell yourself spiritually. You know you're going to go through some changes just to get a chance to get to the point you love each other, right? So wouldn't it be easier to do it with somebody you loved? If you're going to go through all that crap anyway, it should at least be with somebody that you enjoy, or that you want to be with. So never fall for that trick of, I'm going to stick in this hellacious situation because I've got to learn it somewhere. I just as well learn it here.
Well, if you learn that everything is love, so everything is love. So if you think that you don't have a passionate, kind of like romantic, stereotype love for someone, but then you're like, well, but everything's love. So whatever I have for this person still is love, even if it's not what we're calling love.
If whatever way you look at it makes you want to be compassionate and understanding and continue to go beyond any blocks that you have with each other, good. Whatever you tell yourself to make you be a compassionate,
right,
understanding, loving, caring person, good. But also don't overlook the obvious. If I'm going to be in a relationship with someone, I should at least start out with the basic premise, I really like you. So don't try to leave that out. Please don't try to make an excuse not to want to like the person. You know, because yeah, we all love each other, so we hear, but we don't. Y'all know we don't.
We don't express it.
No, we're not gonna get to love until we admit that the last thing that we do with each other is love each other. No other person in here that's gonna go to bed tonight and go, I'm as concerned whether or not Earl is gonna have a meal tomorrow as I am concerned that I'm gonna have one. Let's get real. We don't feel that way. You know you don't. So what do? Then we start to move toward that level of really wanting real love. And then it's not to beat ourselves up. It's to go, you know what? I need to start thinking about something other than my own self. I need to start wanting everybody around me to have peace as much as I want to have peace. You know, I like to be honest, and it's not really inspiring sometimes because the only thing most people have that makes them feel good is their denial. So if you take them out of their denial, they don't like it. You know, it's like, I'm denying that I'm really a selfish son of a gun and just really thinking about myself. I'm a really nice person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then the truth says, really? Do you really love your brother as you love yourself? Well, I do care. And it's better to go, you know what? I don't know how to love no friggin' body. But I'm learning, and I'm getting rid of everything that keeps me from knowing how to do that. But you gonna deal with me? You should be well informed. I'm a work in progress. I don't know how to forgive in every situation. I'm not always kind every day. I'm not always looking out for everybody else as much as I'm looking. I ain't gonna tell you that crap. I'm not gonna tell you I love you no matter what you do. When I know I got conditions and I know I got scripts. I'm gonna say I got scripts and I wanna let go of my scripts and I wanna get to the point that I really love you right, baby. But let me tell you, I got some issues. But nobody's gonna tell me about that because they're not gonna take you out. They're not gonna say, oh, I wanna go on a date with you. You go, I got 100 dysfunctions. Do you still want to take me out tonight? You know we ain't gonna do that. We're gonna present ourselves like we're the cutest, sanest person that ever do a couple of Course in Miracles quotes thrown in there. You know what I'm saying? It's so funny, you know. But that you cool. We cool. We just didn't learn how to do it. We didn't learn how to do it. That's all. We're some cool people. We had insane teachers. We had insane teachers. You know, they didn't know anything about love any more than we. They did the best they could too. So let's just give everybody a break. Let's give us a break. Let's give everybody a break. How about that? Let's give us a break. Let's give everybody a break. Let's stop expecting everybody to have qualities that we don't have ourselves. You know, let's give everybody a break. How about that? Huh? Is that okay? Can we give it yeah.
Saying that,
What's that?
let's stop expecting everybody to have qualities that we don't have ourselves.
Yeah. Don't you think that we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We always expecting everybody to have better qualities than us. I always tell people when they tell me all these incredible qualities that they want of somebody that they want to be in a relationship with. I said, would a person like that want you? If I really was rich, famous, happy, if had great balance, self-esteem, loved myself completely, would I want you? If you're the opposite of all those things, of course I wouldn't. It's not like the most conscious person in the world saying, "Give me somebody that's totally dysfunctional, Lord." They're looking for somebody that's just like them. We're all looking for somebody just like us, who we can relate to. I'm cool. I'm cool with my craziness. Because I know I'll never be alone, and no matter what state of consciousness I'm in, it's impossible for me to be by myself. And since I know that, I can be okay about how I am. I'll never be alone, ever, in anything. Isn't that great? No matter where you are, no matter how you are, there's somebody that's just like you. And so you never have to be alone in anything. That's wonderful to me. So he says right here, the highest state of awareness then is in which perception has been totally cleansed and purified is one of paradox as soon as you seek to talk about it. For you will look upon yourself and you will see yourself as a body, mind, with a certain name, living in a certain place, on a certain planet, doing a certain thing. Don't you? Don't you see yourself as a body, mind? Don't you see yourself as having a name for that body? Earl. Body, Earl, body, mind, Earl, called Earl. I'm living in a certain place. I'm over there in Colorado. And I live on a certain planet. Last time I heard it was Earth. And it says I'm doing a certain thing. I'm teaching a course. He says, in the very same moment, in the very same field of your mind, you will know that you are not that body, that you are not that name, that you are not that history, and that you are something more. You are something grand. You are something grand.
That's great.
You are something grand.
Yay!
Oh boy, we're something grand. Isn't that thrill? I'm so thrilled in here. I'm grand. You know, somebody said I was a son of a bitch, and then I go, hey! You are something divine. Suppose you walked in the door when you was growing up, and as soon as you came from school, your mother said, "You are something grand. You are something divine. You are something mysterious. You are something beyond comprehension by any mind, at least in the realm of thought." Suppose you were hearing that every day. You are something that's grand. You are something that's divine. You are something that's mysterious. You are something beyond anything that I can even imagine in greatness. And then when you heard that every day, you would go, one day you go, I am something grand. I am something divine. Your reality would go poof. I'm going to validate you're something grand and something divine, and your reality will be validating that to you all day long.
I am.
Yeah, but it starts with me. I'm the one that's got
Yeah.
to put on the shirt that I'm looking at in the mirror. I can't have on a yellow shirt and be looking for a red one to be reflected back to me when I look in the mirror. It's going to reflect back what I'm wearing. You see, so if I ever want the world to come back at me with a loving way, I've got to go, I'm divine, I'm grand, I'm something more than I can even imagine. I've got to start hearing that. That's the purpose of these classes, really. It's so that we'll hear stuff like that, so that we'll plant that seed that'll change our mind. And that's what he's saying right here. In the very same moment, you're not your name. I'm not Earl Purdy. I'm not the history of Earl Purdy. I'm something more. You are something more than a man and a woman that has a name that's going to work every day. You are actually beyond comprehension. He says that you will literally know and feel within the core of your being the truth of both of those. There will no longer be opposition between them. You will no longer look at the personality and see a great schism between your personality and the nature of your Christ mind, which is your true self, for the two will become merged as one. And what does that mean? As I begin to realize that I'm more than a body and that I'm a spiritual being, then I'm going to take my human form and I'm going to walk through this world and I'm going to try to be as loving a person as I can possibly let love come through me. I'm going to try to let as much joy come through me as possible, and I'm going to live this world as if it's an adventure, that I'm going to see what it is that I could try to explore and create, and how much peace and love can I bring in this experience. So now I've merged Earl Purdy, the personality, with Earl Purdy, the divine self. They're not in opposition anymore. I'm using my body for the same thing that I want God to use me for. So I'm not in opposition anymore. Every day I said, God, live your life through me today. I used to go, oh, I want this, and I want that, and I got the other, and all these other things. Now it's like, Spirit, what do you want to do with me today? Because that's going to work out a whole lot better than anything that I come up with. And I found out that everything I fantasized about just showed up when I wanted to be of service. When I go, oh, I want to be a means for people that's coming in this room to know that they're grand, glorious, and mysterious. Then I started meeting cool people, because that's what I want to be used for. It's really that simple, but then we try to figure it all out before we do it. And so we just won't do the simple thing of saying, hey, use me for some good stuff. Use me for some cool stuff to come in this world. That's all. That's it. It's just too simple. So we overlook it. But in the meantime, I need you to wash the dishes. And that's what I'm excited. That's what I got a burning desire. It's for you to wash dishes. Because I put more energy in trying to make you wash dishes than recognize I'm grand and glorious and divine. I put more energy into making sure that I'm wearing the latest pair of shoes than I put energy in trying to be grand, glorious, and divine. I put more energy into the car that I'm trying to drive than seeing myself as grand and glorious and divine. I put more energy into working out so that I have big bulging muscles, so that people who don't care about the mind will be attracted to me. I love those little cut-off T-shirts that guys wear when they buff. They always have a little bit of little T-shirts that say, you know. And then you watch some girls go, and that's why he does it. And he has a burning desire to do it. And he'll do it every day. Why? Because he's getting the result that he wants. It's that desire is creating the experience that he wants, which is getting attention. So he can maybe get into a body part party.
That can't be true.
It can't be true. Can't be true. But I can understand that. That's a lot simpler than working on your mind and your personality. If you could just look a certain way and get everybody that you want, I can definitely see why people would do that. If that's all it takes to attract people to you, is just to look a certain way, I can see how that would be absolutely what you would want to do if you were unconscious. Because then you don't have to even go through. I had a friend who had a house that was so freaking beautiful that it seduced everybody he brought to it. Even a couple of guys turned gay. You know what I'm saying? So it's like It's like what you got in the world, what you look like in the world, what your status is in the world. And if you got those things, you attract lots of unconscious people and have a good time. You'll be surrounded by them. Vampires. And you just have all of your ego will be like, yeah, I'm bad. Look at me. Yeah, you see them sucking your blood, buddy? They're not giving you anything. They're just trying to get from you. They're vampires. So if you are not attracting vampires, don't think that means you're unattractive. Because I used to be like, I'm not getting any vampires. It must be my cologne. What's wrong? I'm not attracting people who are unconscious to me. What's wrong? Let me go to this class. People who don't know how to love nobody aren't attracted to me. I'm a failure. You know, I can walk around the world all the time. I don't attract no women. I never attract no women. I don't. I'm in the regular world. I have to go to a workshop, a retreat, it's gotta be some personal growth. If it's a personal growth thing, I attract women and I attract men. If I'm just in a regular worldly situation, I'm completely invisible. And it used to bug me until I realized it was the safest, most protected thing that could ever freaking happen to me. Is that people who are trying to be conscious notice me, people who have no desire for that, they don't notice me. What could be safer than that? But your ego go, well, what's wrong with me? How come they're not noticing me? Because you are not asleep enough to be noticed. When you start to do personal growth and you're trying to evolve, I'm sorry. It may look like you're not attracting people as much as you used to because you're not as crazy as you used to be. And there's a lot more crazy people than there are sane people. So there's a much greater pool of possibility when you're crazy. But you're trying to be about something, you can only attract people who are trying to be about something. And the number of people who are trying to be about something is not as many people as the ones who don't. So it's really a testament to your growth if it looks like you only attract a certain kind of people in a certain situation and circumstance now. So, you know. So you should be happy if you're not attracting people who are asleep to you.
That's good. It is good.
It's all the way you look at it, isn't it?
And it's all the way you look at it. And if you are attracting people to you in those environments of personal growth of some type, that means they got body parts. So you still get a chance to go dancing and go to movies and drive cars together and maybe even make love. The body parts are there, but the difference is they're not hellacious to deal with all the time. That's a good thing, y'all. It's a good thing, y'all. I'm gonna hire me some people to be happy. See, what's my credit limit? I'm gonna put me some plants in the audience. I'm gonna hire them to like love what I say. I love my dream. Oh God, I'm so thankful for y'all because you are blessings in my life. You're blessings in my life. I get a chance to say this and hear it over and over again thanks to you. That's great. Okay, we'll stop right here. Any questions or comments? Yes. Yes, darling. Lady in the back with the blue on.
Late? Sorry.
Yes.
I got lost. I went the wrong. There's a South Race Street.
Oh, I know. I personally have never gotten lost.
Okay, I just want to catch you because normally after you're covered up with people getting hugs. So.
You want to hug me now?
Yeah. What book do I need for this class?
This is called The Way of Mastery. That's the name of the book.
Where do I get it?
You can get it through Amazon.
Am I supposed to study a chapter that?
No, it's up to you. That's up to you how you, because I jump around. because I never know who's going to be here, so there really doesn't make any sense to go sequentially. You know, yeah, it's like you're going to only do that if you got the same people from beginning to end. But we'd be here for 300 years before I get through this whole book, so everybody be dead. They're finally at the end of now it's time for us to be happy. Our end of this book anniversary class 2041 AD. I don't even have no body parts anymore.
Earl, you want a movie.
I do. If you don't laugh at this stuff, you will not last. And I'm telling you, being a serious truth student will kill you dead. This stuff is too deep to take I'm going to be serious about it. You know, you'll never hear 3 sentences of it. If you don't laugh at yourself, it's going to be a long journey back to God. And you will laugh one day. You will look back at some of the stuff you've done to yourself, and you will howl. You will be like, I can't even. How did I really jump out the window? Then I went back. It wasn't a husband, it was just a mailman. Oh, God. Oh, there must be a God. I'm still alive. Okay. Anyone else ready to ask a serious question about anything that they've heard tonight? Oh, y'all just got it all down pat, huh?
Not a serious one, but I don't know if you ever finished your thought about like having the same people come back to you in your life, like over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. The same type people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same type people are coming back over and over again, so that you will ask the question, what is it in me that's attracting these same people back and back into my life again?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I see a person just get out of a bad relationship, what they call a bad relationship, and then the next time you see them a week later, they're in another one. That's a person who thinks that the other person was the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And because they think the other person was the problem, then why should I take a look at myself before I dive into to another one? So they're pretty much going to recreate it because they still haven't gotten the main lesson, which is I'm the one that created what happened in that relationship in cooperation with the other person. It never was the other person by themselves that created any of it. So, and then some people do the opposite, is they wait a real long time between relationships. They don't want to make no mistake. You know, so they're scared to go out with anybody because they don't want to make no mistake. Okay, now those people tend to wait so long between relationships that they forget what happened the last time. And so they do the same thing all over again. Because they just think a long period of time means you're ready again. But the only thing that happened was a long period of time if you forget what it was you did to create the last relationship that you had. So you go into amnesia about what really happened and you go right and do it again because you had a long period of time before it did the last thing. So the person that goes, so with the pattern people come for you to say, what's going on within my own mind that is creating this kind of relationship to me? And you can always tell what it is. If you want to know what it is, it's whatever you're accusing them of. If you want to go to the shortcut. If I call you selfish, then I'm selfish. If I say you're not committed, like I sometimes hear females say, men don't want to make a commitment. And I always tell them, men never have a problem making a commitment to a woman they want to make a commitment to. You're just not the one they want to make the commitment to.
Mm-hmm.
But that's too obvious. So you say, he just doesn't want to make a commitment. That's right. You're absolutely correct. He doesn't. Is he into you? Is he calling you? Is he trying to go out with you? Is he pursuing you? Men like to penetrate their experience. That's the nature of the masculine. They go after what they want. So if he's not, he's not.
That was quiet.
Okay then.
I know it's like
Whoa, where's
it's
the
like
macho?
the Course in Miracles and the Course in the Way of Mastery. They constantly teach us that the truth is simple. We just complicate everything and then cause ourselves pain, and then we act like we don't know what's going on. You know, the very nature of the feminine is that it's magnetic, and that it draws to it. You don't have to go after nothing. You just have to not have a barrier to receiving it. But the more grievances you have, the more barriers you have, the less that somebody's going to want to scale those walls. So you need to let go of your grievances so somebody can not have to scale your wall.
But you don't want anybody to do anything.
Well, if you know who you are, you always know who to say yay and nay to. If you don't know who you are, then you always just gamble. See, I know that anyone that I would want to be close to would have to be somebody who was consciously wanting to evolve and wanting to grow. So if I said I was studying personal growth material, and they said, oh, that stupid, weird, airy-fairy, new age stuff, that stuff is silly. Now see, that should be the end of that right then. But that's not what we do. That's not what we do. That's not what we do. But we try to convince them, or we drop it ourselves just so we can be with them. We'll drop our own path so we can be with them, especially if it's the perfect body part.
I have a really hard time with like harmonizing with roommates because of that. Like, I love them so much. I want to like just fit our existences to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's a subconscious thing. Is like I think that we should reflect each other because I'm told that everything that I see is a reflection of what's with it inside me. I'm not told that. I actually believe that, but it's hard to like understand how to actualize with that belief.
Right, I'm telling you how to do it. It's so easy.
But what if one's a stripper and then one's
Okay,
like
you ask. But don't you strip every night?
Fabio?
Don't you
kinda-
strip every night before you go to bed?
Yeah, no, I love them both so much.
I'm just
it
saying,
doesn't
but I
matter.
mean, literally, whatever it is that we see in the other person, even literally. I mean, literally, if I was with, that's that, and you okay with the strip?
I don't gyrate. I don't know how to twerk.
Well, that's okay. It's a twerker out there. They'll show you how to do it. But you're a divine twerker. I've never heard of a twerker, but it sounds like fun to me. You know. But I'm gonna tell you something. I'm joking, but I want to get this clear. The people who irritate you will go away when you see yourself as irritating as they are.
Mm-hmm.
When you go, every quality I'm seeing in the irritating person is in my own mind. And when you say that with any level of sincerity, at any point, you're going to start to, I promise you, two things are going to happen. Either you're going to end up being separated from each other in a way that benefits you, or they're going to miraculously shift the way that they are. And you're going to be shocked at how your roommate happened to change. That will not happen as long as you attribute your unhappiness to them. That's the lesson. That's the one lesson that we all walked away with that would transform our whole life. The Course says that our desire to be special and better than, or even less than, makes us not want to say, I'm the same as. You know. So that's the biggest challenge. But it's also the thing that makes the biggest, in other words, when it says desire creates the pathway, like we heard tonight, then I should have the desire to practice that truth that I just heard. I should have the desire to see you as a part of me. I should have a desire to see you as divine, grand, and mysterious. He just told us the kind of desires that would produce the kind of reality that we want. And it's hard to believe that if you change your mind, your mama would seem to change. That if you change your mind, your roommate would seem to change. If you change your mind, then the right people that would show up, that wanted to do the triangles and work with you in your project, would just start to show up. They show up after you tell yourself the truth. And it's not until a person tells themselves the truth that their physical reality begins to shift. And the truth is, what I'm seeing out there is in my own mind. And if I say anything other than that, I'm going to perpetuate the pattern. That's the secret. So I did say the book, The Secret. The secret ain't just what you vibrate to, you're going to attract. The secret is you're only ever looking at yourself, and you're only ever looking at your own mind. That's the secret. And the trick is to go, the problem is you. And when you go, the problem is me, then the situation changes. But not to beat yourself up, but to go, okay, Spirit, show me another way to look at this quality in me and in them that would free us both. That's the position of power. And anything else is just an excuse not to do it. Every other yes but is just an excuse that you don't want to do that. So just be aware of that. The yes buts are, I want to keep my pattern. I'm not ready to let this go yet. Because nothing I'm saying is not anything all of us couldn't do tonight if we wanted to. All of us could do everything I said tonight. You wouldn't have to go to another class. You would have to read another book to do anything that I suggested tonight. None of us do. It's just a matter, am I going to choose to do it differently now? Am I suffered enough, or am I ready to have my life be an adventure and fun and joy? That's it. That's why I say I don't have no sympathy for me or you. Because I know you're powerful and grand and divine
Yes, we
and mysterious.
Yes,
And
I
you
am.
all have incredible body parts.
Yes.
Would you acknowledge yourself for another episode of As the Black Man Rants?
That's right.
So I'm going to do the financial expression of appreciation. Love it if you share with me. Be great. And I love you if you don't. Either way it go, I love you. I am sustained by the love of God. You are sustained by the love of God. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate you. And also, is there anyone that needs to be, that wants to be on the contact list so I can send you links to the classes that I record?
Send it in the back.
So that you can also watch them at home on your computer or on YouTube. So this lets you know how to get in touch. Well, the Course in Miracles I send out every week. I haven't been sending these out because there's some copyright issues that I want to get straightened out. But that's why I'm recording them, so when I get those permission to do it, I will start to put these on the internet also. Okay, those of you watching on the internet, thank you so much for the support that you're giving me. Thank you. If you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, you can go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com. And I'm also available for one-on-one sessions to help you get clear on any issues that you need to change in your life, called clarity sessions. And the description of that is also on the website. So I'm here and I'm available, and I love to work with people who have reached their limit and they've had enough, and they're willing to actually be proactive about their own happiness. So I'm going to say something to you as in our closing 2 minutes. So I'm going to ask you just for a minute to relax. You are responsible for what you see. That means that you are responsible for how you see. You are responsible for how you see. You choose the feelings you experience. You choose the feelings that you experience. Your feelings come from your meaning that you're giving it.